We are live for another episode of Tactical Tuesday. Welcome to the show. Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid those false positives that we actually get inside our business where we think we're doing really well, but in actual fact, we're not accomplishing the things that we mean to. I'm going to just move this thing around because we are going live and things are playing up, but we're all good. All right, fantastic. If you are here, let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a chat with you. Also to answer any questions that you've got as we go live. And really, the point of doing a topic around these false positives is because typically when I work with a business owner in the Forge, which is the business program that I run, we're finding that we're working with people who are either a little unsure about where they're going forward and ideally need help with the planning side of things. They're getting this roller coaster ride of inconsistency in the lead generation process and having really good clients coming through the door. And then finally, they're finding that the closing system of a sales system is troublesome because they're finding things like ghosting happening. They'll send a proposal, and the proposal, the person disappears. They turn into a ghost. They just go away completely. Or they're finding that they're just having all these coffee conversations that go nowhere. I don't know if you've ever experienced that yourself, where because of your expertise, people want to say, hey, I'll buy you a coffee. Which is shorthand for I'm not your prospect or I'm not going to pay you money. But the reality is if they do ask for a coffee, there are ways to get around that and actually move that opportunity from just being someone picking your brain and stealing your information, really, to actually move them into a situation where they're an ideal prospect. But that's a whole different topic, and that's not what we're talking about today. What we're going to be talking about today is that situation where you find that you feel like you've got momentum. And you feel like you've got momentum because people are asking you for stuff. Opportunities are coming from places. You may be even getting a few referrals, which are fantastic things, but referrals are interesting because referrals that you receive, you got to think of them as the cream on top of your business. It's like the nice thing to add to it because it can't be the core of your business, because if it is, you're literally relying on someone else giving you work in order to grow, which means it's very, very difficult for you to grow. Hey, Gordon, good to see you. Also looking forward to an exciting year as well. For everyone who didn't see my haircut, no, I was there last week. Yeah, I think you did see my haircut. I cut it myself and put that to the side. It will grow back. I hear that it will grow back. And actually, since we're on the topic of moving into the new year, I think it was back last week, but I received something. It was a Christmas present, a delayed Christmas present in the mail. And I received it this week. Got to show you this. Now, I already had the gas bottle, right? Now, you guys know that I do blacksmithing. It's one of the fun things that I do in my life. Now, I have a coal forge out here, which is manageable. It gets up to a decent heat of about, 2,000 degrees. But I got a little toy that got delivered, and here it is here. This here is a new burner that I've got for a gas forge. This will go inside a little brick forge that I made up, which I did make up and then turned this thing on, which is so much more powerful than I thought it was, that if I do disappear in the next few weeks, it could be because I burnt the place down. I'm looking for a new studio, but I thought you might find that interesting because these are some of the fun things that we're playing with. But it's also that time of year where we start needing to get momentum back in our business, right? So I want you to be aware of the good momentum versus the bad momentum, and that's really what we're talking about today. The bad momentum is the false momentum, the one where it feels like we're on the board, we're having these conversations, things seem to be progressing really well. But in actual fact, the results, this is the cash in the door, does not reflect the feeling that you're getting from all this opportunity coming through the door. Now, back when I started my business, I think it was 16 years ago, right? I was good at what I did, and like many of you, I was sort of an expert in that space. I was transitioning into this area where I'm becoming a business owner, and I realized that there's all these different hats I need to wear. Now, I'm sure you've all experienced that. You've now got to be the HR manager, you've got to be the salesperson, the marketing person, the person who's doing the production, and all the other things that go with it early on in the business. Or if you've got a lifestyle business that's really running around you, kind of a practice, right? Now, back when that was all happening, what I realized is that once people know that you're good at doing what you're doing, they will ask to speak to you. And so you'll be having all these conversations. And early on, you won't have any structure for the conversations. And so often they'll go this way and they'll go that way, but they won't necessarily go in the direction that you intend. And so while you're having all these conversations, at the end of the day, the runs are not on the board and the money is not in the bank. So what I like to do is make sure that you're being very clinical and actually taking emotion out of your assessment and review of how you're going. So there's two aspects to this. Number one is tracking your progress. So I like to, and I've actually put I've just put a sales tracker together, a little like spreadsheet together, which you can have if you want. You can have a copy of it. So let me know in the comments if you want a copy of that little sales tracker. But basically, what it enables you to do is track your progress through the different steps in your pipeline to say, all right, how am I actually doing versus how do I feel like I'm doing? You know, in the sales training space, when we actually ask how people are going, we often find they go, oh yeah, I converted 80%. But what they find is they converted 80% of the last step in their business rather than actually 80% of the whole piece. And so I like to track multiple different steps along the process. And for those who are not doing that and don't have a system, you might want to just actually look at this system. I'll put it on the board as a way of tracking progress, right? So there's a concept, actually, in fact, Leanne Christie often talks about that for anyone who knows Leanne. She talks about the sausage machine, right? So the idea of like you put sausage meat in one side and then it goes through the machine and it comes out the other side as sausages. And so you put the meat in the machine and then you run to the other side and you start collecting all the sausages and suddenly the sausages stop coming out. You go, oh yeah, that's right. I've got to actually go to the other end of the machine and put meat in again, right? So thanks, Leanne, for that one. But that's what tends to happen inside a business is that if you're not doing activity at the top end, that the bottom end where things are supposed to come out does not happen. So I very much look at the first step for this. Obviously, you've got to know who you're after and where they are, but I make connections. So connections is actually part of my pipeline. How many connections did I make today, or how many connections did I make this week? All right. And if you're looking for a benchmark on that, I would actually look at how many connections can I make? And it very much depends on the platform. So for instance, with LinkedIn, without having any fancy software or anything like that, you can connect to, I think, up to 100 people a week. You can outreach to them. On Facebook, you can connect with up to about 50 people a day. So you got to be careful on some of those things. I've pushed the boundaries on them plenty of times, but that's safe. But you've got to know in what section you're going to do these connections. So if you've got, let's say, 50 a day you can do on Facebook and you're using Facebook as your primary platform, you've got to make sure that you're dedicating to focus on one place where you're doing all these connections. You go, all right, well, I could do 50 a day and I want to work 5 days a week. So that's 250. So 250 should be your average, or 250 should be your goal. All right. So there's no reason why you can't connect to this many people. If you don't know how, then ask me, because there's all sorts of places where you can find your ideal customer. And usually when people can't find their ideal customer, it's because their target market's way, way, way too broad. All right. So connections is the first one. Then you move from connections, you go, all right, well, how do I start conversations? So I call it starters. They're kind of like chat starts. How do I start a conversation with these people? So, in the old days, it would have been going to a networking event and you go, all right, well, I can connect with all these people. And you connect with a whole bunch of them. Now, one or two, you're going to go and have a little bit of a broader conversation. What is it you do? How do you help people? What sort of clients you're after? All that sort of stuff. That's a chat start. And I measure that because if I do this daily, it ends with clients. I just know that because of the actual tracking I've been doing. So connections, moving into starters, moving into what I call priority. Other people call this a triage. That's where you actually go, is this person a prospect versus just someone who could use what I've got? A prospect is someone who's ready, I think, to use what you've got. So one of the big things that a lot of people, and I'll talk about this another time, a lot of people get ghosted on these proposals for is because they send stuff to people when they're not ready. So why I call that a priority call, say, is there a priority to be having a conversation about helping you? Because if it's not now, it should be another time. Okay. So how many priority conversations are you having? How many sales conversations? And then finally, how many clients? All right. So in that spreadsheet that I've created, I've got all this in there and I've just put some mock data in there for the moment, but you can actually track your stuff the entire way through 2022. And I've got a way that you can do your totals and then have a percentage on each of the steps so you know how many you're actually hitting. All right, cool. So that's just a useful little step and process that I use to make sure that I'm tracking in a very simple way, but a way that gives me information. So this is an activity piece. Am I making enough connections? Chat starters. Am I making enough if I have the opportunity? If I don't have the opportunity to start conversations, why not? And usually that's because I'm not creating content that's opening conversations. I'm not finding a way to have conversations that is not the old sales way of just sort of jumping into someone's DMs. You don't want to just jump into someone's DMs and start going at them. You've got to have natural ways to actually start conversations. So that's a little skill in itself. It's one of the things we teach in the Forge as well, which is really useful. The priority calls, there's a very, very different way to do that. And the reason we do these two steps rather than doing it all together is because if you do a priority call, it shouldn't take you more than about 7 minutes. And in a priority call, you do that 7 minutes and then you go, all right, well, this person's not right or not ready. You don't burn them. You're not offering them anything because now's not the right time. Okay. So doing the priority enables you to put these people off to the side, and then maybe a quarter or maybe half of those people will go through to a sales conversation, which will be like 40 minutes, something along that line, right? And so it saves you time long term if you can do it that way. So priority, then to sales, then to obviously clients at the end of the day. Now, by looking at the numbers, you get to see, am I doing well or am I not doing well? So based off these, it'll give you a true representation of your momentum. So not false positives, but true positives when it's working. And when it's not, you can actually see where it's not working and you can focus right in on that spot. That's the whole purpose of doing it, because we float through our lives feeling. And I love the concept of bringing feelings into what you do in a business, because it drives you, right? It actually drives you. There's a lot of passionate people. I'm very passionate about the things that I do, but there are areas for passion, and then there's areas to actually remove emotion altogether. The review process on whether something is working or not is the place to remove it. I know so many times I've actually worked with clients in the past where they go, I don't feel like it's working. And I've been able to show them the data and they go, oh, wow, we should actually double down and add more to that because it is working so well. And so if you know your numbers, you know where to invest your time, you know where to invest your money. And at the end of the day, you know if this activity is working the way it should. So false positives, we want to avoid them in 2022, which means that we really want to track how we're going in 2022. If anyone is interested in the tracker that I put together, I can see that Peter, Gordon, and Shesh have all said yes. I'll send that out to you. So just put it in the comments. If you're watching this on a replay, just put it in the comments that you're interested in having a look at the tracker. It's nothing complicated. It's actually quite simple, but it's the simple systems that we put into our business and the simple processes that we put in our business are the ones that we're actually going to do, right? So making sure that you're putting the simple things in place so that you make sure that you do them are going to be a massive key to making sure you know where you're at for the next 12 months. Well, there's another Tactical Tuesday for you. If you haven't already, I'm putting these on YouTube. And if you are watching this on YouTube, then I'd love you to subscribe down below. If you are not, then go and find me on YouTube. There's plenty of places, and I think I shared it earlier in the Future Proof discussion group where you can find it. Subscribe to that channel because I'll let you know when, yes, these go up, but I put a whole bunch of other videos that are training videos and videos about how you can be doing better within your space, right? Very good, Jacinta. I can see you there as well. And Martin, I will get that across to you. Not a problem. Until next time, if you are watching this on YouTube, come and check out the Future Proof Business Group. This is where I'm going live every Tuesday. A bunch of fantastic people, as they are in the comments, that we get to talk all things about adapting our business in this ever-changing environment we find ourselves of change. It's so change heavy for the last 5 years plus. It's just been incredible. So that's why this group exists. It's to help manage that, because managing that adaptability on a business is really one of the biggest strengths that you can apply to business today. It's not necessarily about the skills. It's not necessarily about how do I make this thing work in this environment. It's how do I make an adaptable business that actually flows no matter what the environment we find ourselves in. Ali, Aaron, fantastic. Yeah, if you're on the tracker, just let me know in the comments and I'll shoot it across to you. Until next time, stay passionate and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.